okay? It's really bright, just like our futures. Okay. Okay. Today, I want to tell you a story. A story of how I was inspired to create changes and advance the rule of law through storytelling. I always consider myself as a late bloomer. Growing up, I was introverted and incredibly socially awkward. Sometimes I still am. And I didn't have any big dreams or passions in life. Fast forward, I went to law school, and I was pretty average in law school, or I would call myself the underdog. I was trying to find my place, trying to figure out where I fit. And I wanted a change in my behavior and attitude so that I could fit in. But I guess I was searching for a change in my life. And one day, I read this article titled "Making an Impact, Flying to the Moon" that was written by Gayatri Raman, the managing director of LexisNexis Southeast Asia. In the article, she talked about how she creates changes, change the world, and make an impact through her rule of law projects, and how her CEO and bosses encourage her to fly to the moon. And that article struck me. I was like, this lady is so cool, and I want to be like her. She's so inspiring. After that, I started to read up on a lot of legal-related blogs. Gayatri instilled in me to find a cause that I'm most passionate about and to make an impact on it. And one cold night in Liverpool, I remember it was the final year of my law degree. I watched this YouTube video of Alma Clooney speaking in the European Court of Human Rights on the genocide issues in Turkey. And again, I had this thought. I was like, I want to be like her, to be able to speak in the European Court one day. After that, I started to take my studies seriously. And all of this motivated me to change because I wanted to be like them. Gayatri, Alma, a passionate rule of law advocate, a top-notch lawyer. And I realized that I need to change myself in order to be like them. And I realized that if I would have stayed the same, I would never be able to make it. After graduated from uni, I joined Humans of KL to write stories on various social advocacy issues. I was inspired to change the world, to tell the story of those who need their plight to be brought into light, to raise awareness on various social justice issues, and to be the voice for the voiceless, whatever that means. But it's not all roses and rainbows. In the beginning, I doubted myself. Can I really write? English is not my first language. I have poor grammar. I can't live without Grammarly.com. And I always troubled my friends to proofread my work for me. And I was so afraid to speak to strangers, to conduct interviews in my Ching Chong accent, because I was so afraid that they would laugh at me. And my parents, they were not supportive at all. I was told that I was wasting my time volunteering for Humans of KL because it's a non-profit organization. But I did not want my effort to go to waste like this. Of course, I had a lot of thoughts like, how long will I be doing this? Where's my recognitions? All these thoughts fill my head. But I know that I want to work harder on the issues that I'm most passionate about, on the causes that's close to my heart. After that, I started to read a lot of articles online. I bought a lot of books. I read psychology stories because I wanted to learn how to develop a style in writing, especially when I have to write about someone else's life. And I even asked for feedback. I watched YouTube video on how to take a better portrait because we share real human stories. And one day, it was 2017, during Hari Raya period, Humans of KL visited a refugee school called Ideas Academy. We spent the night with the kids. We have an amazing night. And I remember there was this girl. She shared the story of how the war broke out in her home country and her father was killed in front of her. That story brought tears to my eyes. I could never forget how she looked at me that night with her teary eyes. And that drive back home, I realized that we often complain about a lot of things in life. The heat, the aircon is too cold, your dreams come later than your food, all these miscellaneous things in life. To some people, however, it's a blessing to be here, or at least to be alive. The highlights with Humans of Chaos have definitely been the opportunities to meet people from diverse backgrounds. For example, we went to mental health institutes, old folks' homes, refugee school, and even prison to collect stories. We went on the street to interview people from diverse background, different background, because we believe that no matter you are rich, poor, white, brown, yellow, everyone has a story to tell. And stories touch lives and emotions. And I truly believe that we can change the world through stories. And you see, a few years ago, for a lack of better word, I was this bimbo who used to turn a blind eye on various social advocacy issues around me. And when I see someone begging on the street, okay, let's step away. When I read some strategy news on my phone, okay, oh, there's a sales in Zara, let's go. But little did I know that all this exposure to the issues that I was working on changed my perspective on life. And it made me want to be a better person and definitely be the voice for the voiceless. In 2018, I regard that it was the year that I found my calling. I remember it was August 2018. I just finished my CLP exam, which is the Certificate in Legal Practice. And I was waiting for my result to be released. So I wanted to get some working experience to make my CV look good. So I applied to more than 15 law firms for an internship. But no firm accepted me. That's weird, right? Sometimes we want to work for somebody for free, but they just don't want to hire you. And I thought of changing my approach. I then applied to a legal publisher, Lesson Assist by chance. And guess what? I met Gayatri in person, in the office. And I walked up to her and told her that how she inspired me since my uni days. I pitched to her that how can we change the world and advance the rule of law through storytellings. And that afternoon, she offered me to join her for her rule of law projects. And that afternoon, I flew to the moon. I was given this chance to spearhead a rule of law projects which focuses on creating awareness through storytellings on social justice issues such as statelessness in Malaysia, which is people without IC due to various reasons, and also the death penalty in Malaysia. And because of that, it's like a dream comes true to me. I get to do what I love and make a living out of it. And because of that, I decided to defer my legal career for a year. Again, my parents were not exactly happy with my decision. They were like, your cousin is already a partner in a law firm. What are you doing? When are you going to start your pupillage? But I loved what I was doing. It was my waking thought, my sleeping thought. I get so excited when I tell people about my work. And I live and breathe it. Of course, it's impossible to do the stateless persons or the people on death row justice in just a few stories. But we were moving the needle and changing the mindsets of the public bit by bit through the stories that we collected. I remember there was this lady, she Facebook messaged us and said that she wanted to adopt a child. But now that she read our stories on statelessness children, she wants to adopt a stateless child to give him or her a home. And that's how I measure the changes we create through our stories. And even if we just manage to change one person's mindset, all these efforts would have been worthwhile. In April 2019, I went on an eye-opening trip to Sabah. I joined a mobile crowd expedition to Kampung Matangau, a Zone 3 rural area in Sabah, a place that you can't even find it on Google Map. Mobile court expedition were established by our former Chief Justice, Tan Sri Richard Malanjong, which has helped people in the rural area with legal issues related to their land rights and birth certificates. Many aspects of life are simply denied to a stateless persons because they are considered as non-existing by our government. They can't go to school, they are denied to healthcare, banking, jobs, or even a marriage because they are non-existing, right? And in their village, there was no water supply, no proper electricity, no tar road. We had to go in by a 4-wheel drive. And in that village, there was no clinic. And bear in mind that there are 2 strains of malaria in this village. The nearest hospital is 3 to 4 hours away by car. And there was only one school, one primary school with fewer than 10 classrooms. And the school is made of asbestos. And I talked to some of the villagers, and I found that a lot of them, they do not work. It's not that because they are lazy, it's just that there aren't many jobs opportunities for them in the village. Some of them work as an underpaid worker in the palm oil estate, or some of them just live off what they farm. And you guess, how much is their annual income? It's 50 ringgit for a year. And I remember there was this orang asal, 57 years old lady. She came and she didn't have an IC to date. And the reason being is that she has never traveled out of her village throughout her whole life. And she couldn't converse properly with the mobile court team because she was speaking in her own dialect. She only could speak in a very minimal bahasa, and even the translator had a hard time understanding her. And I remember some of the villagers, they came a night before to preserve the better chance of their life. Because they know that without an IC, they're pretty much stuck in the limbo of society. Because of the law require that the children has to follow the nationalities of the father. Foreign single mother are often cannot pass on their citizenship to the children. And these children will continue to be stateless. It's a vicious cycle. And these are the people who came to look for a change in their life. When I reflect on this trip, I was thinking, how can we help those who can't help themselves? And how can we help those who don't have the means to help themselves? And how can we be the voice for the voiceless? As a legally trained person, these are the issues that are very close to my heart. And I truly believe that we can always start from where we are, to use what we have, and to do what we can. You see, this princess, the most rural area that I have ever been was Jelebu in Negeri Sembilan. But I was there, sleeping on the floor, facing mosquito bite, no clean water to shower. I was there to observe and to document the issues that are faced by the stateless persons. But I guess I was there for an awakening. Today, I stand here telling you my story because they changed me. I set off to change the world, but in the process, I changed myself. I will just end this with 2 points. Change starts with yourself. Many of us have tall ambitions in life, and you may ask, so where do I start? And even if I really do something, does it matter? Just pick a cause that's close to your heart, a cause that you are most passionate about, and start working on it in whichever way you can. Like Vincent van Gogh once said, great things are done by a series of small things brought together. Second, we are all stories in the end. Just make it a good one. Thank you.